Now, the big country's hidden history continues on KRBC.
Welcome back. The Henderson Art Gallery in Sweetwater has an important art display.
It shows an important part of the history of Central West Texas and some of the men who helped to make it safe for settlers to move in.
A celebration of culture, traditions, and heritage.
I was just thrilled to get this very famous artist with his inspiring paintings that educate and they inform and they just touch your soul.
Mila Gibson, a consultant for Sweetwater Municipal Auditorium, helped bring the work of Bob Sneed to the gallery.
I find that to be one of the most powerful paintings I've ever seen. He decided to tell the story of the Buffalo Soldier through his paintings.
It's a story many people haven't heard.
Buffalo Soldiers, the Juneteenth Cowboys, American Indian Scouts have been excluded from the American history textbooks and Texas textbooks.
Dr. A.C. Jackson has made it part of his life's journey to tell their story.
For 4 years, from 1867 to about 1871, they were the only force frontier army here in West Texas.
Black men representing the U.S. government in charge of protecting the land.
These are genuine Texas heroes, but you hear one chapter on black people, that's slavery.
One reason Mila says this art exhibit is so important.
We believe cultural arts builds community and brings people together. And that's what this art show reveals.
Showing children of all races, even they can be heroes too. In Sweetwater, Danica Hill, KRBC, Abilene's local news.
Now, the Buffalo Soldier exhibit is on display at the Henderson Art Gallery in Sweetwater until March 15th. There is no charge to go in and take a look.
And as we continue our special, we're highlighting different places across the country that have stories that may never have been told before about African Americans in our history.
Right now, Tamara Scott is showing you inside the Forgotten Soldier exhibition at the American Revolution Museum at Yorktown.
When we think about the Revolutionary War, many people think about our victory against the British Army and the beginning of our country as we know today. But there are some faces who don't always get remembered. The faces of the African Americans who also fought for their lives and for their freedom. Here at the Forgotten Soldier exhibit, curators are hoping that you remember the part they played in our future and you shift your gaze.
We're trying to tell stories that have been forgotten since the American Revolution and tell a more holistic, more complete story.
And that starts here at the Forgotten Soldier exhibit at the American Revolution Museum at Yorktown, with who's believed to be the very first martyr, Crispus Attucks.
He was a mulatto, which means he was a man of mixed race, mixed heritage. He is the one of those men who were killed the evening of the Boston Massacre.
Looking at Paul Revere's engraving of that massacre, you see Attucks, who not only made the ultimate sacrifice for our country, but also set the tone for the African American sacrifice.
Something like 50% of Virginia itself was enslaved. And so that's a very large part of the population that doesn't always have an avenue out of that institution.
Curator Kate Egner-Gruber says this is where things get complicated.
So the American Revolution then offers up this moment of choice. And so that's what we're getting at as we move through the gallery here, is that African Americans, both free and enslaved, during the years of the Revolution have choices to make. Sometimes those choices are made for them.
To stay enslaved and fight with the Patriots, or leave and fight for the British loyalist. One man highlighted here, the last colonial governor of Virginia, Lord Dunmore, sets an example of the options for blacks in this time. He offered slaves the chance to serve in exchange for their freedom. That promise is alluring.
And we know that many, many, many men, women, and children, regardless of their intention to join the British Army, do show up to take advantage of Dunmore's proclamation, and that happens right here in Virginia.
But records show those who made the move in hopes of freedom were challenged when the war ended.
What happens to those thousands of African American men, women, and children who take the British up on their offers of freedom? We can follow some of those stories through the survival of these two books.
The Book of Negroes and the Inspection Roll of Negroes. This is the first time these two have been in the same room since the 18th century. This is where we meet Mary Perth, owned by a man in Norfolk, Virginia. Perth and her family, like thousands of others, have many unanswered questions.
Article 7 stipulates that because the British lost, they have to leave North America. They have to leave, but when they do leave, they cannot carry off any property owned by Americans. Article 7 specifically says, including Negroes.
But one man, known only as Mulatto Billy, changes everything. He joined the British Army in hopes of freedom, but then is arrested later for treason.
And he is actually found guilty and sentenced to hang for being a traitor. It's actually Thomas Jefferson who intervenes here. And he says that Billy, because he's enslaved, he's not free, therefore he's not a citizen, and he has no political allegiance to anyone.
Now this is important though, because although Billy might have been made an example here,
yes,
it doesn't mean that every African American after him got the same treatment.
That's true.
Well, there's just so much history to learn here, but only for a limited amount of time. The Forgotten Soldier exhibit will be here until March 2020. Head to historyisfun.org to learn more or to purchase your tickets. Reporting in Yorktown, Tamara Scott.
And when we come back here on Hidden History, how football has changed forever.
Stay right here.